Good afternoon, everyone. It's Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post Game, also known as a Players Rep, educate, empower, and protect the athletes and families' best interests alone. Today is Thursday, November the 14th, 2019. This live is going to be something different. We're talking about such things as using your brain capacity. A lot of people say that using your brain capacity as a human being maxes out at 10%. We're going to talk about how that's a myth for one, but if using your max capacity of your brain is 10% as a regular human being, how much capacity of our brain do we use as actual athletes, pertaining to who we are around, pertaining to what we do, what we think, and how it all ends up. So as I always say, trust the facts, not the process. Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. In a couple of seconds, I'm going to bring someone in here, and I'm going to test these theories based on things that are myths as well in the sports business. And for those of you guys who don't know, and again, while I'm waiting for them to come in, you can check me out, the Players Rep 1 on Twitter, the Players Rep 1 on Instagram, and the Players Rep on LinkedIn. So we're going to cover topics such as Colin Kaepernick, topics such as skipping the bowl games, situations that we're talking about was unfortunately passing of Charles Rogers, a former number 2 overall pick for the Detroit Lions out of Michigan State University, as well as what is Trent Richardson, the former Heisman Trophy candidate, number 3 overall pick, doing right now. And when we talk about all these different things and the people that have been around these guys from the day that they got involved in this business and were asked to trust the process, how does it really work out for them? And so again, common sense is not so common, specifically in the sports industry. So first things first, Colin Kaepernick is a report that he was supposed to go to a workout this weekend, I believe, in Atlanta. And so for many people who wanted to know, what will be the situation when it came to Jay-Z entering into the NFL and Colin Kaepernick and his response, what was going to happen and how this is actually going to work out, and for all the agendas that's supposed to happen, after 10 weeks into the season, many people know that Jay-Z did a kickoff concert beginning of the season when it came to promoting, African-American inclusion, also standing up for human rights and things in that situation. But at this point, it's all about calculations and also understanding about really what's going on in this business. People don't know me personally. I'm going to, speak my mind, truth to power, based off what we see, based off business principles, understanding that the NFL is all business every day and every night. So when you talk about Meek Mill has 18 million followers, when all of a sudden the New England Patriot owner Robert Kraft all of a sudden befriended this young man, and all of a sudden now he wanted to fight for justice reform, as well as Jay-Z taking the spotlight and pertaining to that same situation with the NFL. It's all about dollars and cents. How much can Jay-Z and Meek Mill bring back to the NFL? A lot of people stopped watching the National Football League based off of Colin Kaepernick not having a job, based off what he took a knee for, and whether you agree with it or not, the NFL, after 3 years now, him not being in the league, is still losing money and revenue based off of those fans who haven't returned. In my opinion, my professional opinion, the NFL made a business calculation that, many African-American people were more concerned about entertainment and as well as, rappers or sports versus the actual real reason why Colin Kaepernick took a knee. The fact is that he hasn't gotten back yet with Jay-Z being involved. They haven't been able to get those people to come back to sign up for DirecTV, to come to those games, the same revenue that was going on. And so if you don't believe me, just go at the tweet. Look at Colin Kaepernick's tweet yesterday when he talked about he may be attending this actual workout. And it had approximately about 450,000 likes. NFL would love nothing more than to get those 450,000 people to just contribute, even if it's $1, back to the National Football League. Just the facts, not the process. So again, common sense speaking, I'm hearing now that, again, and I kind of figured it to be such that the reason that Colin may not be attending is that normally when people do workouts for teams, that's usually on a Tuesday, and that's the players' days off. That's when actually the GMs or the coaches and the scouts may be in the building and actually take a good look at the actual athlete they may be interested in bringing in. To my understanding, that this workout is going to take place on an actual, I believe, on a Saturday, where a lot of these coaches, and again, fighting for playoff races, are traveling at that time. So essentially, who from a decision-making process is going to be there to really evaluate Colin Kaepernick? Who is really going to be there to offer him a job? If this, in essence, as soon as this actual workout was announced, it was something leaked that Jay-Z was responsible for it. I want to explain something to you guys pertaining to this situation when it comes to the NFL. There was also another post about an agency, particularly working with the National Football League, National Football League team, and because the National Football League team wanted to remain with that actual agency or keep a good friendship, they signed a guy for $12.5 million. The owners do not care who represents you as far as an agent is concerned. They care about your ability to, 1, produce, 2, be healthy while producing, and 3, if you can put butts in the seats, the trifecta. You don't have to have an agent. You can have an agent. It doesn't really matter. So for this one article that came out that said that Arthur Blank of the Atlanta Falcons was remaining to keep Vic Beasley because they wanted to maintain a relationship with CAA, a sports agency, with these record-breaking deals that's given to Matt Ryan, given to Julio Jones. Simple math, people. And again, here we go. Common sense is not so common in the sports industry. I wanted to maintain a relationship with an agency that got me as the owner paying all these record-breaking contract deals to these athletes who have injuries, have a short window on it. And the return of my business investment has me at 2-7. And I am so excited to be 2-7. I'm going to give another one of these athletes that's represented by this agency another $12.7 million just because I want them to remain friends with me so I can continue to pay them all this money to remain and become 2-7. Trust the facts, not the process. Not so common. Bowl games transition into the NFL. For a lot of these coaches in schools that continue to vilify these athletes about not playing bowl games. Let me explain something to you guys. For those who don't know and going through this process, there may be a potential lockout in 2021. And if that's the case, again, at the end of the day, you need to be properly advised on your decision whether to remain in school as a junior, to leave, and understand how this may be. But from my understanding that right now the premise is that there may not and there should not be a lockout, and the premise that athletes are going to pay, NFL players are going to play 17 games, which means 17 regular season and reducing 1 preseason game, which makes it 3 instead of 4. So when we talk about player safety and what's the really benefit for the actual players going to that route, and you actually being, represented by the actual NFLPA and the NFL, if you're really concerned about my players' safety and okay, you're going to have me play 17 games, how about you go back to the NCAA and explain that as I leave school, that my process looked as such. I'm going to play 12 to 13 games if my team is good, potential playoff, up to 15 games if I'm Clemson last year. Then I'm going to proceed to leave school and go directly into training for the biggest job interview of my life. I'm going to go through physical and mental rigors to change my body, to make my body to get to optimal position to go and perform at the combine. After the combine, I'm going to be drafted in the National Football League immediately to go to rookie minicamp. Then after rookie minicamp, I'm going to return back to minicamp with the team. And after minicamp with the team, as a rookie, I'm going to be basically put in a situation where I get reps, and I'm going to 4, or now soon to be 3 preseason games. And then 3 preseason games, it leads me to 17 regular season games. And if I'm on a good team after those 17 regular season games, I get to go play particularly another 4 possible games to end up winning the Super Bowl. So between that time that I actually sought out to basically advance my career through college, through the pros, and when I basically played my regular season and these coaches want me to play this bowl game, basically jeopardizing my future earnings, I'm looking at almost 28 games, 2 straight years of nonstop grind in football. If I'm an employer, future employer, as the NFL is to these college athletes, I will be telling them that, hey, you need to protect yourself, your best interest, which is your body, which is I'm going to pay you to use it. If you come to my league broke and beaten down, I'm going to pay you accordingly. Trust the facts, not the process. So once again, common sense is not so common. So if you talk about player safety, and that's the big issue in the deal in the NFL, and that's what you're saying, college athletes and parents, that's what the NFL, that's what your future employers are telling you, but yet you're ready to go play for free in the bowl game for a hat and t-shirt. So let's also trust the facts, not the process. As of right now, there's 5 to 6 current projected first-round picks that's already done for the season. Now, I don't necessarily want to put those young men's name out there, but then let's look at this. At University of Virginia, at Stanford, at Notre Dame, and there's a few other schools as well. So if you're talking about 6 potential first-round picks, which is almost a quarter of the first round, that are already injured broke things that a lot of them may not even make it to the combine, so that means their future earnings are going to be lost, then why are you doing this for again? Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. Common sense in the sports industry is not so common. So if that's, again, what the decision is for me to go and play in this bowl game, and yet all these guys that I mentioned are injured, and the NCAA and the university are making billions of dollars, but yet none of these athletes are being insured by the university at the level of coverage of their worth, while asking these athletes and these families to remain in these actual schools. However, if you want to get insured at the level of what you're actually worth and you're covered, the NCAA and the university is telling the parents they need to accept all the risk and the debt for their actual sons that are generated millions, and also in a whole billions for the NCAA university, for the coaches. But this is what's best for the team, right? There's impossible for anything you do in life to basically do it at the level you need to do it without having an understanding of why you're doing it and where it's going to get you. But yet they asked you to trust the process. The process you don't understand, the process that you had no input in, the process that you literally have no control over based off of what you've been told, what you understood. No other job, no other career in the United States of America is based off of you doing something for 6 months, and then after those 6 months, the person that you're working for going to tell you what you're going to get paid, and then you're supposed to be like, okay, and keep it moving from there. So where did they do this at? Look no further than this whole transition process between NFL PA, the NFL, the NBA PA, MLB, you go on and on and on. I'm an athlete now going to the pros. The person that's supposed to work for me and represent me is going to tell me what I'm going to pay them. And not only are they going to tell me what I'm going to pay them after the fact, then that number can go up or down, left and right based on what I do. But what they charging me does not go down. How do you do that? With anybody at work right now, working for someone that's not going to get a check at the end of the week and not know what that is? Are you going to basically punch in and punch out 40, 60, 70 hours a week, only not to know what your return of your investment is? Time, energy? Well, that's what we have in the NCAA and universities with their Bubblegum 101 education courses. Trust the facts, not the process. So, just for that premise alone, if my goal is to become a millionaire, a successful millionaire, and yet I'm not capable of understanding that literally the work that I do for these amount of time in months, I don't understand what that's going to cost me, who's actually getting paid. I can't evaluate what the work they actually done, yet all the powers that be around me are pushing me in that direction. And they think that's okay. So when I mentioned Charles Rogers, who was the second pick overall and rest his soul because of the liver problem and a couple other things, what people don't know is when you live your life to be validated through a sport in general, don't know who you are outside of that sport, then you're wasting your time. Because when that sport leaves you, you no longer have a meaning and a reason to live. So you do things to avoid reality. You drink, you smoke, you get in trouble, you get in all types of situations. Where are those same people that told you to trust the process when it's all said and done? Those calls don't get answered anymore. So God rest in peace to Charles Rogers, the former Detroit Lion. And nothing pained me more to see people on Twitter after he passed away saying, oh, I really enjoyed watching that kid play. He should have been a household name. The fact of the matter is, athletes and parents understand that's how you are viewed. You are a commodity, an expendable commodity. When your time is up, when your body no longer works and it breaks, it will be replaced. I know it's not friendly. I know it's not lovely, but it's the truth. Trust the facts, not the process. So when Trent Richardson, the former number 3 overall pick out of the University of Alabama, rolled tide is back in Alabama right now coaching youth football that cannot afford a team that's actually getting to the playoffs. He needs $600 to attend an actual tournament. He does not have that. The number 3 overall pick, who was drafted by the Cleveland Browns, traded to the Indianapolis Colts, played for the University of Alabama, coached by the Nick Saban, who is not 27 years old yet, is back in Alabama, maybe with a degree, coaching youth football, but can't afford $600 for a youth football tournament. You're not going to hear this stuff on ESPN. You're not going to hear this stuff all around. You're not going to hear anything. You know what you're not going to hear? You're also not going to hear that Rashawn Gary is the first ever sports business representation agency owned and operated by African Americans. In a sport where 80% are African American, he, as a 21-year-old CEO, is the first ever to do it. As I said, owned and operated African American sports business representation agency. If you're going to be involved in generating and growing, stimulating, moving along, developing, and not understand how to sustain, grow, own, and maintain, what are you doing it for? Again, common sense in the sports industry is not so common. Nothing that I said to you in this video is in Spanish or in Russian. I've talked slower than I ever talked being a New Yorker. The fact of the matter is, when someone is willing to put you in a line of fire and you willingly walk in front of it, all in the name for the team, just to turn around and have that same team disregard you, throw you away, and say next man up, we have some serious issues regarding our self-worth, our character development, and also how we see ourselves and view ourselves as people going forward. When I say as people, I'm talking about athletes. Male, female, young, old. We know what it takes to be successful on and off, well, actually on the field for the most part. But you got to take responsibility about developing yourself and understanding this is a short-lived career. It's not going to be long. And you have to invest in yourself, not the industry. When you hear terms like trust the process, if I took you to a cliff right now and you've seen this beautiful mountain sky and you see these rocky boulders going down, and all of a sudden they say, you know what? Yeah, you like this view? Like, yeah, it's a beautiful view. It's awesome. Then they basically put the blindfold on you and spin you around in a circle and tell you to walk. Would you do it? My name is Robert T. Green, the CEO, pre-post game, also known as a Players Rep, here to educate, empower, protect the athletes and the family's best interests alone. For more information, check us out at prepostgame.com, the Players Rep 1 on Twitter, the Players Rep 1 on Instagram. I'm going to get my guy on next time. We're going to have a real conversation, Q&A about what we need to do going forward, because you're not going to get this information on TV. You're not going to get this information based off what someone wants you to do. Learn to invest in yourself, not the industry. God bless, be well, and I'll talk to you guys later.